we start with 2 cells, 1 cell that doubles into 2 cells and keeps doubling until we have, our tens of trillions of cells. This is being able to harness natural nanotechnology, but taking it one step further, making it into nanoengineering, where someday we're going to have the ability to be able to go into our bodies with very small repair devices and repair our cells, cell by cell, all the trillions of cells in our body, and restore them to a youthful state. And since we're made up almost entirely of cells and some extracellular material, that means we would be able to essentially reset the aging clock. When when our cells age, we age. When our cells become rejuvenated, we become rejuvenated. So we would not only look younger, we would feel younger, we would be younger. We'd be able to restore our youth and vitality, and instead of having 80-year-old organs when we're 80 or 100-year-old organs when we're 100, we would essentially have 20-year-old organs, or you set the date, you set the age.
Why are people afraid of nanotechnology, which is a miniaturization of an ability, correct?
Exactly. It's building from the ground up instead of from the top down.
So
it's building on a very precise level instead of a gross level like we do now with our manufacturing techniques.
So we know that nanotechnology is being used in the military. We know that there are military devices, soldiers that actually go into Afghan caves that are no bigger than a foot to a foot and a half. So we know that there's a whole universe of nanotechnology going on. So as it relates to curing and reversing aging, why are people afraid of that thought that something at a small miniaturized level can go in and repair something as small as a cell?
Well, it's a rational fear, Kim. Every technology, and nanotech is no different, has a dark side to it if you develop it that way. I mean, our first technology was, a club, a hammer, if you will, and it could be used to hammer a nail or to build, or it could just as easily be used to bash in your enemy's head. And it's always been that way with technology. Look at atomic energy, nuclear energy. The first application was an atomic bomb, and now we've had, and that's scared so many people that nuclear energy is not in fashion, although it's clean, pure, cheap, relatively cheap energy, renewable energy. And every technology has that potential to be harmful. And nanotech is no different. There are ways to develop pathogens possibly through nanotech, and there are look at biotech. Biotech is an incredible technology, an incredible field. It's bringing us cures to diseases and developing drugs and supplements and all sorts of things that are going to be lending themselves toward longer lives and healthier lives, and are doing that right now. I mean, antibiotics, all the things that biotech, all these miracles are brought, these life-saving miracles are brought to the world, and then we have the potential of germ warfare.
Right. Isn't, in a sense, a part of the mission of the Maximum Life Foundation, on a paradigm level, very much a different universe of purpose than that of the pharmaceutical industry?
Oh, yeah. The pharmaceutical industry thrives on recurring revenues, getting people taking their drugs chronically, getting people to take a pill for the rest of their lives. And as you know, there's a big startup cost in developing drugs.
Correct.
But the actual cost of manufacturing is pennies on the dollar, and sometimes even a whole lot less than that. So the longer they can sell you a drug, and the longer they can have millions and even billions of people taking drugs, the more profitable they are. We're looking for a one-time fix, or at least a very far spaced out series of fixes for life extension. In other words, ours will be a one-time cure. Ideally, if you taking nanotechnology, for example, if we had the ability to go inside ourselves and have they call them nanobots, nanorobots. They're very molecular-sized repair mechanisms that are actually developed on paper right now. Haven't been developed in the lab yet. It'll be 20 years or so before they're developed, or to the point where we can use them medically.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but how will you ever get approvals for this? I know it's a controversial question, but it's a key question. And one can always say, well, we'll deal with it at the time. But if the FDA is sitting at the helm of saying, yes, you get in, no, you don't get in, yes, you get in, no, you don't get in, oh, definitely no, you don't get in, how do you see this extremely advanced paradigm that's going to the ground floor of everything, right?
Yes.
Dealing with something like an FDA, or do you envision, along with Ray and others, a totally different body of approval and policy going on that allows this to come forth? If we have a disease industry, for example, and the disease industry is connected to the healthcare industry or the health insurance industry, which really has to do with disease, it seems to me like Maximum Life Foundation, where biotech, infotech, and nanotech meet to reverse aging by 2029, is in this parallel universe of purpose, which really doesn't have anything to do directly with being in the business of facilitating or treating disease in the current infrastructure, but has to do with life extension, ending and reversing aging as we know it from the inside out. I envision an entire different industry to facilitate it on a business level and policy level. Do you see that?
Well, I do see that, and unfortunately there's a huge vested interest right now in sickness and in death. And it's going to be a challenge to overcome multi-billion-dollar companies. In fact, whole industries made up of multi-billion-dollar companies whose very existence depends on us being sick. And again, it's going to be progression. Now, we've overcome these kinds of obstacles in the past very slowly because progress was very slow. Now we have a situation where progress is going to be very rapid, and the FDA certainly is going to try to control these technologies. They're trying right now to control stem cell technologies. They haven't been able, or no regulatory agency has been able to control computer technology, and that's one reason we saw these rapid advances. One of the reasons we're seeing very slow advances in biotech is there's so much regulatory control. When the cat gets out of the bag, when we do have the capabilities of reversing aging, first of all, let me say this is not something that the Maximum Life Foundation does. We're not geared to solving any of the bureaucratic or regulatory problems.
Right, I understand that. But I wanted to mention it because in parallel, something will need to be prepared to facilitate then what will be ready and prepared for the public.
Something will, and if it's up to the regulators, this will take forever. It won't happen by 2029. What we're attempting to do and what we're planning to do is having the capability, the technical capability of reversing aging by 2029. Now, whether an agency or agencies let us use that capability in any given jurisdiction, that's another question. It's a big world out there. There are lots of jurisdictions, and assuming we'll still have lots of jurisdictions in 19 or 20 years, then there are lots of places in the world to go that will allow these treatments and therapies. Unfortunately, not everybody can afford or will be able to do that. Will be able to travel to areas where, if this is an option, and hopefully the regulatory agencies will come to their senses, recognize these technologies as life-saving. We lose 100,000 people every day to aging, and sure, we're going to be stepping on some drug companies' toes and some other people's toes, financial toes on the way, but if they were smart, they would join the crowd rather than opposing this whole movement.
I lost my mother of Alzheimer's in
I lost my dad of Alzheimer's.
2008, and it's a terribly horrible disease that's preventable. And the tragedy is that most doctors are still stuck in an old paradigm about what it is and what you do. They're still handing out Aricept to people. You know, there's other things in Europe that have been working and on the market for 20 years, but we couldn't get them here.
Exactly, and I had the same